Hi, good morning. In today's video, I thought of telling something about how exceptions are handled in Python scenario. So generally, exceptions are the errors that occur at the runtime. There is a lot of difference between a syntax error and there lies an semantic error and then the exceptions. Syntaxes are really the errors in the punctuation marks or how the program, the constructs or the instruction has to be specified in the editor. But these errors in general, the runtime errors, which we call it as exceptions, do occur when there is a suspicious code that runs inside this program and trying to terminate the program. So if you look at handling the exceptions in Python, there are only four important key aspects that you need to look at. Aspect number one, like in any other conventional programming languages, like some languages use throw and catch, some languages use some other form of construct for handling exception. But in Python, if you look at, the exceptions are handled by using try and except. You are going to place the suspicious code inside the try block, and if there is an exception, that exception would be handled in the codes inside the except block. And there is one more thing that you must look at. You can add. There is another block that can be added to the exception block. One is try, except, and you can have one more else block, and that else block would run if there is no exception that is raised by the raised in the try block. If there is an exception raised in the try block, then it goes to the except block. If there is no exception raised in the try block, then it goes inside the else block and executes the program. And the fourth construct which gets added to this try, except, and else is the finally block. The syntax can be found in a lot of textual contents, but actual meaning of using those syntax would be, the idea behind using those syntax would be like you put the suspicious code inside the try block. If there is an exception, you handle inside the with the statements inside the except block, and if there is no exception, else block gets executed. And if there is an exception or not an exception, then there is a block called finally block, and that gets executed for sure during the running of the program. And even there is another concept that you will have to learn along with this try, except, else, and finally, that is raise. You can even raise an exception in the Python by simply giving raise as a keyword, and you can give whatever tracebacks you want to throw at the user who's developing the program, that can be raised using the raise block. Apart from this, there is another exception handling support we get it from Python, that is assertion. If you are writing assertion, it would assert the user when there is an error, when there is a traceback, then the assertion would let the user to really get a lot of information about the error, because you are going to write the information inside the assertion block. So this would generally be about try, except, else, and finally raise and assert. This is all about exception handling in Python. Thank you for watching the video.